and welcome back to Couch
Hi,
Critics.
guys, and welcome back. So, today we're reviewing a new movie called Anyone But You.
Starring Sydney Sweeney and Glen Powell.
Yes.
Yes. So, Anyone But You is a movie about Bea and Ben. They're two random individuals who meet at a coffee shop and they have this wonderful date afterward. Then some miscommunication happens and they end up drifting apart only to meet again at their friend's wedding. And of course, as any
Rom com.
rom-com movie, they have to pretend to be in love with each other. And they, if you have watched any movie ever, you'll know that they end up falling in love
Of
by the end
course.
of it.
Of
Yeah.
course.
So, did you have any expectations watching this movie? Because I know they did like some surreal promo about it, so it was like inevitable to just not be aware that the movie was coming out.
I just watched the trailer, and there was a few scenes that we saw in the trailer. It's funny because in the trailer, I
Mhm.
thought that they were genuinely in love, and I thought, the whole
Yeah.
movie was unproblematic, which I know now doesn't make sense,
Hmm.
but I just thought that that's how it was gonna go. So watching it and realizing that they were just pretending was a nice twist to it.
Hmm.
And yeah, but no, I didn't have much expectations. I know with rom-coms it's so easy to turn them into something very cheesy,
Yeah.
and I hope that it wasn't going to be cringe, but honestly, I'm pleasantly surprised because it was done so well. I'm not saying there wasn't every single cliche of rom-com,
Yeah.
but it was delivered in such a good way that I just enjoyed it. What
Mhm.
about you?
I don't know why, but like my TikTok feed was like filled with Glen Powell and Sydney Sweeney doing promo for this movie together, and they were playing so much with their obvious chemistry together. And I genuinely thought that there was something going on between them until I realized that I don't know if that's true or not, but I think I've seen somewhere that Sydney Sweeney's fiance is one of the producers of the movie. Don't quote me on this, but like I've seen that on TikTok, and they're not together IRL. But yeah, I feel like Sydney Sweeney is the perfect actress to hire if you want to have a great promo about your movies. And she's also an amazing actress.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of her movies and she's great. This one wasn't my favorite of hers,
Okay.
but I think she did a fair job. Regarding the movie, I expected it to be terrible because I've only seen terrible reviews about like reviews saying that it sucks and that it's overly cheesy and bad. And I'm not a big fan of comedy, so that doesn't help. But honestly, I was surprised. I really liked it. I'd say I enjoyed it. Like it's not the kind of movie that I'll think about forever, but I did have fun watching it.
I see this rom com becoming another rom com classic. Like, when I think of
Mhm.
rom coms, all I think about are movies that were done 10 years
Yeah.
ago by, the OG actors that I have now forgotten their names. I don't know, we'll mention them in the comments. But yeah, when I think of rom coms, all I think about is How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days.
Yeah.
Movies with that vibes, or he's not really
Into
into
you. Mhm.
like these kind of movies, and those were all filmed in the early 2010s.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's refreshing to see a movie with a similar vibe filmed in 2023 was new. Like it still was, I did feel the upgrade, like there was more like ethnic minority representation,
Yeah.
there was a gay couple, and that's kind of how I see this evolving. Yes, it's a recipe for
Mhm.
cliches and stuff like that, but I think it was well done. It wasn't, they didn't put the emphasis on all these elements. They just showed them subtly, and I think
Yeah.
that's what makes it good. So yeah.
So, what do you think made you like this movie more than like the previous rom-com that you've watched recently? Forget about the classic. I mean, just compare it to
Yeah.
everything that came out in recent years, Hallmark movies included.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I kept comparing it with
Yeah.
Xmas,
Me
and
too.
I'm like, whoa, that is so much better. A lot has to do with it. I have to say the aesthetic of the movie,
Mhm.
like the destination. The movie is filmed in Sydney, and
Yeah.
it's the movie revolves around the fact that Bee's sister and Ben's like best friend
Sad.
are getting married together, and they have to get along because of the wedding. Like they don't want to cause any trauma, even though they end up causing a lot of trauma, but still. I love that it was filmed in Sydney. I love the aesthetic. I love the characters.
Mhm,
And I loved the cheesy lines that they said,
mhm.
and that they said it so, like, in a funny way. It came out naturally. There was even
Yeah.
this monologue at the end where he tells her, I love how you do this and I love how you do that, and you make me happy, because at the
Mhm,
end when he goes to her, to the Sydney Opera House, and he just declares his love. But even when they were being cliche, they did it like so
mhm.
naturally. Like even though they knew they were being lame, they didn't care. So yeah, aesthetic, delivery of like their speeches and stuff like that. What else? The aesthetic again. I just love the
It was
apartments.
amazing.
I
Yeah.
love the beach. I love the outfits. Like it just makes you, because it's a rom com, and you don't go into a rom
Mhm,
com expecting your life to be changed or anything.
yeah.
You just want to go there to enjoy it, to have a good time, have a laugh about it.
Mhm.
And I think that that was successful in that way. What about you? What made you like it more?
I really liked the destination that they
Yeah.
used, the location. I feel like more and more movies being filmed in Sydney recently. I don't know why. Maybe it's cheaper to film there. Elvis was filmed there, by the
Ah,
way.
yeah.
Yeah,
I didn't know.
and they make it look like it's filmed elsewhere, just like they do in
Yeah.
Montreal in general. But I loved how they showed Sydney throughout this movie. It just made me want to visit
Yeah.
that place. The plot was very basic. I don't think that that plot would have worked if they hired anyone besides Sydney and Glen. Because I feel like the reason why this movie worked overall is because they had great actors. Sydney Sweeney, I know I said earlier this wasn't my favorite movie of hers, but it's not because I think she's bad. It's because I think that she's used to doing this very complex psychological thrillers and these very challenged characters that are very complex, and she's always like taking risks with her acting. And I feel like in this movie she just tried to dial everything down, and it sometimes it just seemed kind of blank, like she wasn't at the same rate as Glenn, whereas Glenn, he's always doing characters that are similar to this one. I'm thinking about Scream Queen, I'm also thinking about Top Gun. And so he already proved himself as a comedic actor, as a great one. And also they're just like, as everyone said, they're perfectly looking. So we're not complaining about watching two
No.
amazingly looking actors for over 1 hour. Also, you talked about the script. I feel like the script was very well delivered from
Yeah.
the actors. Um, like the jokes landed perfectly. Also, like when even when they weren't doing anything, when they weren't speaking, like we were just laughing. I don't think I said this after we watched the movie. I told you we don't usually talk when we
No.
watch movies. We're just like we watch them silently, and I'm always like so mad when I hear even like someone chewing next to me. I think that food should definitely be banned in movies, but this is like another debate. um but yeah, we couldn't stop talking because it was just so funny
Yeah.
and so light. And um I feel like we're always looking for movies. At least I'm gonna speak for myself. I'm always trying to find movies that would have a silver lining or make sense and try to teach you something. But I don't know if like all movies are supposed to do that. I think some movies should just like entertain you and make you have fun and make you laugh. Yeah.
Yeah. Just to add to what you said, I loved, like, we were like having a full conversation in a movie theater. It helped that there wasn't a lot of people around, so we
Yeah.
weren't really bothering anybody, but we were just really enjoying it. And it's not like we were making comments about, oh,
Mm.
look at the lighting or stuff. Like we were just generally having fun and talking about the way they're delivering stuff. And yeah, that was very fun. And yes, I do think that movies should sometimes be entertainment
Yeah.
and shouldn't always have a silver lining, just as you said, because lately we've watched a lot of thrillers, a lot of like very dystopian movies, and I'm
Mm.
thinking about the Hunger Games, Saltburns, and all of these things. And it feels good to have a little break, to just enjoy a really good movie with really good looking actors,
Mm.
and just have fun, because it is entertainment at the end of the day. That's
It's
what
true.
movies are. And even though it wasn't like a big, engaged movie with a huge message,
Mm.
it did it did got me thinking about a few stuff. But it gives you a better vision of what life could be, and it's really nice. Also, the relationship between the actors, the friendships, the jokes, as you said, and their energy together. It's stuff that you like. I personally looked up to a little.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I do think there is a silver lining to this movie. I think that the silver lining is that, okay, if you ever happen to be in a situation where you meet someone like Glen Powell and you hear them saying that you're a horrible person, you just choose to not believe that. Just be fully convinced that what you hear isn't true because they definitely don't mean it. That's the silver lining to me.
Facts. Yeah,
Yeah.
just ignore the red flags. That's the silver
Yeah.
lining.
But only if they look like Glen Powell. Otherwise, you should be careful.
Do you think that Glenn Powell like is a bad like would you picture him as the bad person or something like that?
You know what? Like when he played in this movie, you mean?
Yeah.
I don't think he's a bad person. I think he was just hurt when
Yeah.
he said what he said about B. But I feel like the whole movie is based on miscommunication, which is by itself like a weak plot. But as I said, it works because Glenn Powell and Sydney Sweeney.
Yeah.
Only because of that.
Yeah.
But on the other side, I can't help but think, uh, are we like putting the bar too low for rom-coms these days? I know I said it's nice to have these light plot movies and to just enjoy them and not expect that much, but how like low is the bar? Like actors shouldn't like the acting shouldn't be the only thing that carry on the success of the
Hmm.
movie. Like we do need a solid plot for Hallmark movies, for rom-coms, and like besides the plot being light, it should make you feel something. It should be a good movie. And I can't tell you like the last time that I watched a rom-com that had a nice plot that wasn't heavy.
See, now that you mentioned this, I'm thinking about a kind of I don't know if it was a rom-com or just a comedy, but have you watched the movie How to Be Single? By
Yeah,
See,
yeah.
it's also
But
very
is it a
recent.
rom-com? Like,
Yeah,
does it
see, I
fall
want
into
to
that
say it's a
genre?
rom-com because it does revolve around romance a little, but the fact that the characters don't, spoiler alert, don't end up together. um, maybe it's not, but there was still a bit of romance. It's a comedy, that's
Mhm.
for sure. But yeah, I would compare it to this, but they're two different, if we're talking about comedy, it's two different things. There's a comedy with the obvious happy ending
Mm.
where the two people end up together, and then there's the other comedy where there's still a happy ending, but How to Be Single is a movie about how to be single, and you would,
Yeah.
even though you would expect the obvious couples to end up together, they don't. And I think that was very
Mhm.
clever, that was very nice, that was very refreshing.
Yeah.
But would I want every movie to be like that? Would I want every movie to promote the fact like, yes, you can be single and happy and whatever? No, because sometimes it's nice to see people together and happy,
Mhm.
and it is movies at the end of the day. And sometimes we go there, we watch them to escape like what's happening in real life. I'm not saying like it's the case right now, but it's just good to see people happy without a lot of trouble and stuff like that. I don't know. Does that make sense?
It does. It definitely does. But I feel like to in order to be able to relate to a movie, the movie itself should be a reflection of a reality. Because
Hmm.
what's a movie? A movie is an idea. It's an exploration of reality. And I like I don't know why is it hard to make movies that are at the same time relatable and realistic.
Do we? Because would it still be as beautiful and as, I don't know, would it still make you feel the same if it was realistic? I mean, do these kind of.
But I feel like for this movie to be perfect, just they just need to make some small changes. Like, the way that they've met doesn't work. the way that they met again after 6 months doesn't work. The way that they've met yet again after 2 years does not work.
Can we
Who?
talk about how they met?
Yeah.
Because I love that. I watched this and I was like, this will never happen in real life. So the way they meet is B wants to use the washroom in a coffee shop, and they tell her she can't unless she makes a purchase. So she tries to make a purchase, but then she sees a huge line, and she really wants to go to the washroom, which is so funny. So the guy Ben sees her struggling, and when he was already waiting in line to get his coffee. So when he comes to order his coffee, he orders a coffee for B as well, and he tells the cashier that she's his wife, and they just like pretend that they're together so that she gets to go to the washroom. So they give her the key, she goes to the washroom, and then of course while she's on the phone with her sister telling her about this great guy she meets, she ends up like getting water all over her clothes. So this whole plot thing doesn't make sense.
Mhm.
And I also love how she asked him, like, she thought he was going to ask her if she wants to go on a date, where he only wanted to tell her that she had paper towel in her shoes. I'm being very specific right now with the details just to tell you how, like, these stuff don't really happen.
Mhm.
But I don't know, maybe, maybe that's the beauty of it. Maybe
Mhm.
movies encourage us to do random things, because when we watch stuff like that, it gives us ideas. I mean, I've I feel personally I've a lot of things that a lot of random decisions or like
What kind of ideas? Just go to coffee shops and stand there waiting for someone.
just go to every coffee
Yeah.
shop and pretend that you want to use
Because
the
it did give me this idea.
See, like that's a good idea. It's not that well,
No.
maybe it's a little bit. I'm not, maybe in that case it's an idea for guys to just, you know,
Step in.
step in. Yeah, like don't hesitate, because I feel like right now with everything that's happened about with the world, the way the world is evolving, people are being a bit more careful when asking people out, like in places like bars
Mhm.
and coffee shops and stuff like that. We People tend to hesitate before they come and they introduce themselves just someone, because people are, I don't know, they're afraid
Mhm.
of the way that they're going to be perceived. And this is, I don't know, that's just my opinion, but I feel like more organic way of meeting people should be encouraged, and that's what these
Mhm.
movies do.
Especially after COVID. I mean, we
Yeah.
spent so much time being isolated that we kind of forgot how to connect with other people. And especially now that everything's remote and online, I mean, we both work remotely.
Yeah.
We had the same friends for years, and it's just hard to just like meet people in general
Yeah.
besides like the people that you meet online.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this is like, I think this is turning the world in a more hostile place, because
Mhm.
everybody's always in their bubble, and unless they're, I'm like in my head I have examples of dating app. I feel like people feel I don't want to say more safe, but more secure when they meet people over dating apps, because you know that these people are,
Yeah.
available to date. But people need to take more risks, and I think we need to normalize again just organic ways of meeting people.
Mhm.
And it's nice to see movies still representing that. So yeah.
A few of the things that I think worked also was the use of the song "Unwritten" in throughout the movie. I think it just adds another layer of cheesiness that definitely work. Also, I couldn't help but love Sydney Sweeney's outfits throughout the movie, and I feel like in most rom-coms, like the lead actress is not dressed age appropriately, and like it's always something weird, and then it's either too much or too little. But Sydney Sweeney looked amazing in everything that she wore,
Yeah.
and yeah, yeah,
I want to comment on her blue silk dress that she wore to the
yeah.
boat. I couldn't stop comparing it to the yellow dress from How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days,
Hmm.
because it was the same kind of silk dress, like open on the back, it's silk, it's
Hmm.
tight, everything. And that's why it kept reminding me of this rom com. And I think the outfits are the reason why I think this movie is also going to become a classic.
Hmm.
It's just, I don't know, it's so pretty. It's not too much, and I think that these outfits would still be pretty in 10 years, so it's not going to be dated. So yeah.
True. What was your favorite scene about the movie
My favorite
or scenes?
scenes. Hmm. Yo, I have two. Um, the two cliche scenes. I love when she went, like, she tried to have his cookie in the plane and
Oh
she
yeah.
ended up just like randomly stuck on his. Oh my god, this scene, I don't even know how to describe it. It's such a weird scene, but it was so fun. And also the scene where the helicopter was bringing them up and they were singing. Those are the cliches, but I love them. What about you?
I really like this scene where she went to the bathroom just to call her friend and tell her that he's cute. Um, Also, I weirdly like the scene where they went hiking and they tried to like pretend that they liked each other and no one was looking and they were going like out of their way trying to
Yeah,
do some PDA that wasn't working and uh, Ben ends up like
having a spider
having a
in his shorts.
spider and losing his clothes and yeah. The Titanic scene was nice too,
She ends up falling in the water,
when she
of
ends up
course.
falling in the water. What else? There were a lot of great scenes, a lot of great scenes. I feel like we did have great scenes, but the plot as a whole, just like the leading to from one scene to the other, is not that g- innovative or like that genius, but like this, each scene on its own works. I don't
Yeah.
know if it makes sense.
No, it makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense. And I love the awkwardness of most of, like, a lot of the scenes they happen, and the reaction. I'm especially Sydney. I'm thinking about when
Yeah.
she was in the bathroom and she, like, her pants, like, she spills water on her pants. It's just so funny, like the exaggeration and the dramatic, like how
Yeah.
she was dramatic with every single detail.
Mm.
Or like the spider scene, and they were jumping around, and then you
Mm.
see people like in the background not even noticing what they were doing. And I loved how it was very dramatic, and I think it was very fun to watch. Like, you're looking at it and you're like, what are you doing? But you're still enjoying it.
True. I did not understand though the whole drama around her quitting law school, and like I don't think it added anything to the story.
Yeah, I have to agree. um I do think it was a bit like relevant because that's how the cake fell off the table.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
because it caused like her, because that's when she B and Ben started developing
Mm.
feelings for each other. And the fact that Ben didn't keep her secret,
Mm.
it made her upset, and she let out everything that bothered her
Mm.
about him, and he did the same. So it kind of caused this fight scene. Also, there's a part where the wedding cake falls on the ground,
Yeah.
and the way they filmed it like from the upside looking down at the cake. And I couldn't stop comparing it to like action movies when there's a dead body on the
Yeah.
floor. Like, the cake was the equivalent of a dead body. It was so dramatic, and everybody was upset and sad, and it was like the worst thing that could happen for them on a
Mhm.
wedding day.
But
And I
isn't it
loved
like
it.
the worst thing that could happen on a wedding
It is.
day?
No, it is.
Yeah.
But I loved how they dealt with it, because at the end of the wedding, they kept like the
Mhm.
messed up cake, and that's what they did, which,
Yeah.
yeah, which is really nice.
Something that I didn't like was how concerned everyone was with the relationship between B and Ben, because I just feel like like you have a wedding come like going on, and like it just doesn't make sense.
It does a little to me, because I feel like every family has these like members who always cause the drama, and even though
Mhm.
it's not their wedding, or it's not their
Yeah.
birthday, or it's not their event, they're going to find a way to turn everything around them. And I feel like the fact that the family wanted B and Ben to be together, their goal was to make them be less of the center of attention. But it ended up being the complete opposite, and they did end up taking the whole thunder of the
Yeah.
wedding, which makes me appreciate like the brides even more, the sister and the friend, because even though it was their wedding, they still found a way to focus on them. And
Mhm.
I didn't like, yes, there was moments when they were disappointed and they were mad, but I didn't feel like they had resentment in the relationship. Like, they didn't feel, they weren't that upset towards B or Ben.
Mhm.
They were, but it wasn't too much.
True.
And I like that. I don't know, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and also I think that the other people, like the other members of the cast, were great as well. They had a great comedic timing. I'm thinking about this scene where Ben and his best friend were like walking holding flowers, and then Ben says something and the other one like just he slaps him with the bouquet of flowers, and it was just so funny. And there were so many key moments where we just laughed out loud. And it just, I mean, it was a good movie. Maybe it wasn't great, but it was good. Like, what's the rating that you would give it out of 10?
I would give it a solid 8 out of 10.
Okay.
Yeah, what about you?
I would give it a 7 out of 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's a movie that I would choose to watch if I'm having a really bad day. I would watch it again.
I
Yeah.
would watch it again as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was our review about Anyone But You.
Go watch it and form your own opinion about it. Let us know in the comments below.
What do you
And
think?
please like and subscribe.
Yes. See you next week.
See you next Sunday.
Bye.
Bye.